He's the voiceover studio engineer of the Stars in Los Angeles, California, a Virginia Tech grad with a knowledge of recording studios unmatched in his field. He's a voice actor from Buffalo, New York, with 30 years experience in recording studios and behind the mic. He solves people's home voiceover studio problems in the blink of an eye. Together, there's no studio problem they can't solve, and they'll do it for you tonight. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Now, live from a basement in Buffalo and an office in LA, here are Dan Leonard and George Whittam.
Hey everybody, this is George Whittam and you're watching East West Audio Body Shop. I'm flying solo tonight. Well, not really. I'm the only one hosting the show, but we're not going to be solo because we've got a Google Hangout tonight with a whole slew of people. Regular viewers of the fan, they're all going to be regular fans of the show. We're all hanging out right now, and we've got a few more slots left in the Google Hangout. I think right now we've got 4 more, maybe 5 more slots available. So if you want to join in, it's just going to be sort of an open roundtable discussion tonight. Whatever comes up. I do have a couple things that I had questions that came in from the viewers tonight to share, but otherwise it's just going to be whatever you guys want to talk about. Let's just have fun with it. It's Google Hangouts. If you want to be a part of the Google Hangout and you don't know how to do it, if you're not already a Google Plus member, well, it's too late for tonight, but we will do it again another time. But if you are a Google Plus member, just log into Google Plus and check your stream. And if you're a voiceover artist and we're friends on Google Plus, chances are you've got an invite waiting for you in the stream. So you can just click on the Hangout, Join Hangout button and jump in on the show, and we'll see what happens. So let me, without further ado, let me jump into the Google Hangout right away and say hello to everybody who's already there. And I can see everybody is enjoying the ability to wear mustaches in honor of our missing co-host, Dan Leonard. Hey, everybody in the Hangout.
Hey. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Let's go to roll call here, starting with, well, I don't know how to do this. in my screen, I've got Diane in the leftmost window. Do you guys all have her in the leftmost box?
Yes, I do.
Oh, cool. All right, so we'll go left to right. So roll call.
Diane Merrit here.
Where are you?
In Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville. All right. And then we've got me, George Whittam, here in Santa Monica, California. And then who's next?
And it's Linda Risting in the Washington, D.C. area.
All right.
And Patrick Sweeney, Toronto, Canada.
And Susan Bernard in Dallas, Texas.
She has not stopped laughing once since we got on the Google Hangout.
Love it.
So the way Google
stash is tickling her lip.
Yeah. We've got mustaches on in honor of Dan. I don't know if the mustache is permanent. It might have been just from that Movember promotion, that fundraiser that guys were taking part of. I don't know. We'll see if this mustache button sticks around, but it's very funny. Anywho, yeah, so Dan's out of town. I think he's in Dominican Republic or something, basking in the sun. I challenged him. I didn't think he would be able to keep off the internet for the duration of his trip, and sure enough, I think by Thursday or by day 3 or 2 or 3 of the trip, he was already posting on LinkedIn and stuff. Literally sitting on the beach with his iPad. Dan, you disappoint me. But I know how it goes. This is a tough habit to break, and I'm sure you're tired of looking at the sand and the surf by now. So that's probably why you're probably actually watching right now. Well, maybe not, but anyhow.
Probably sunburned in his room.
Yeah. So we're giving Google Hangouts a try, and the way it works is whoever is speaking whoever speaks or spoke last, their picture comes up full screen. It's very interesting. It just automatically switches from, whoever is speaking and puts them up on the big screen, which I hear works like a really expensive, sophisticated video conferencing system like you'd see in like big, corporate offices. So, but this is amazing because this thing's totally free and it works really well. Even the mustaches work really well. So I
Actually,
just thought,
George, I
yeah.
was really surprised when I went on tonight just to see an experiment. This is my first time using the chat feature.
Yeah.
I was one of the early adapters, or early adopters, I should say, of Google Plus. And in just that short time, I had to turn around and get an update in order to be able to link on. Actually, it was interesting to me. Did anyone else have that situation happen to them?
Not today, but I ran into that maybe a month ago.
Mm.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
This
very
is my
new.
first time using this, and it just had to do some kind of, I had to install something real quick, so.
Right. Yeah, it's a little annoying. It's like you want to jump in now, but you got to jump through a few hoops before you can. But it seems to work pretty darn well so far. I'm really impressed. We've been looking for better ways to bring in our guests. And we use Skype, the video chat function, to be able to do more than one person. They call it I think, multi-chat or conference or something. And I was really disappointed at the audio quality as much as the video quality. The video quality and audio quality sort of would kind of come and go in waves. I don't know if you guys saw the interview with Pat Duke and then one with Zurich, where the audio quality would degrade almost to AM radio or worse. Like it sounded like a regular telephone, and then it would sort of slowly come back and get better and back and forth. And then video, Pat Duke, I remember watching him, his video froze for maybe 30 seconds.
Exactly.
It wasn't as bad as your first show, George, so I wouldn't worry.
Yeah. I still haven't pieced that first show together. It's still in seven separate video files on my computer that I have to glue back together.
For a good laugh, I periodically go back and watch it one more time.
Really? Oh, man. But we have come a long way. This is episode.
That's what we like about EWABS. We don't want picture perfect. We like to see real life. We like to see the odd mistake.
Well, that's what's cool about doing a show with your peers, for your community. There's just a lot more openness, freeness to just screw around and have fun. And that's what I love about it. But then,
voiceover is not a perfect world, so.
Yeah, but then I watch.
Changing all the time, doesn't it? It always
sure does.
And I'm looking across the bottom of my screen, and looks like there's a chat feature.
Yeah,
played with that?
You can bring a chat window up on the left-hand side of the screen so that if you can have a side conversation going, or if somebody doesn't have their mic working. I'm impressed. Everybody got it working tonight. Some of you had it working when you first logged on. Some of you needed to tweak things, but it pretty much worked for everybody right out of the gate with a few exceptions. So pretty surprised about that. I can invite more people to the chat dynamically too. I can click invite. And if there's anybody that that's on Google Plus that's not here, I can send an invite. If they're not watching or logged on to Google Plus, they won't see it. So I don't have a way to grab them out of cyberspace, so to speak. But it is a function you can do. The other fun thing you can do with Google Plus, which is built right into the Hangout, is the YouTube button. So you can sit there with your friends and watch YouTube videos. Have you guys done this before, where you just sit you get together for some drinks or with some friends, or at your house, or you have a dinner party, and then afterward, have you ever done what I have done, which is sit around the computer and watch YouTube videos?
I can't honestly say I've done that.
No.
No.
I think that'll become more. Linda's going to watch a YouTube video.
Well, yes. Now I'm trying all these buttons along the bottom just to see what they do.
I didn't click to switch to YouTube, but we'll try it again later. But
I'm looking for the beard button. There's only mustaches.
I know.
What a goatee.
In my house, we don't have a traditional TV. We literally have an iMac 24-inch screen computer sitting on my wife's desk, which is in the living room. So when we're sitting around with friends after we have a couple of drinks or whatever, I'm like, "Did you see that TED video? Or that amazing thing, or that funny thing on YouTube?" And before you know it, we're sitting there watching YouTube videos together. And it's actually a lot of fun. And I think it's better than, conversation's always great, but it sparks conversation. It's way cooler than watching a TV show or watching a movie together, I think. And, but what's cool is you can do that right inside Google Plus now. So you can have that watching a YouTube experience with people and live on. I've done it with my family, and it was a heck of a lot of fun, actually. But let me just kick things off and tell you about at least one topic that we could maybe talk about that somebody posted in our inbox. And question is comes from Kendra, and she says, I've seen the occasional whisper booth, I think she means WhisperRoom, come up on eBay. Just curious what, if any, things can go wrong with them, and if there are wear and tear issues to watch out for. I usually can't listen to the show, so if you can get a chance to answer without me calling in, that's just peachy. Thank you, Kendra. None of you guys are in whisper rooms, right? Or do any of you work in whisper rooms?
No.
No.
That's nice to not have to be in a whisper room. I've always considered them, as you guys know from listening to the show, I consider them a necessary evil for some of us. But if you don't have to have one, it's great to not have to be inside one of those boxes. But if you're looking for them used, unless it's a really, really old whisper room, if you see one that's, they say it's a model like SE2000 or something like that, then that could mean it's at least 10 years old or more. And that means that the booth is made out of 4-inch thick walls that are about 4 feet by 7 feet. And each piece of this booth that you have to move and assemble can weigh probably 250 pounds.
Wow.
It's extremely difficult to move and assemble and everything. It makes a really good booth. I have 2 clients with these older whisper rooms, and they're actually really good. But from a practical standpoint, they're extremely difficult to move because of the pieces are so huge. Whereas the newer whisper rooms in the last 10 years or so, the walls are all smaller sections, and it's more manageable to assemble. Still not that easy, but it's definitely manageable. But if you're looking for used whisper rooms, there's not too many things to go wrong other than broken window. These things are made out of heavy MDF wood. It's extremely strong. If someone drops a section of it while it's disassembled, it could break off piece of the MDF. But it's pretty strong material, and I've never seen that happen. So there's really not that many things that can go wrong with a used whisper room. You know, the built-in acoustical foam might be falling apart, or you know, maybe the ventilator fan that it comes with might be bad. You know, it might make a lot of noise or it might not run. But all these things are very superficial things that can be replaced pretty cheaply. So I guess the bottom line is just check and see if you can. Never buy anything that you can't buy, you know, that you can't pick up in person so you can see it. And if you see it in person and you don't see any physical damage, you should be just fine. So that's all I got to say about that. But they're a good buy used, and when you buy one used, you can probably sell it for what you paid for it a few years later and not be out any money in the end. So,
George, any issues with bass reflex with those whisper rooms?
Oh yeah, that's where they have real problems. Is they resonate like crazy. They have a lot of bottom end boominess and muddiness, and yeah, it's very difficult to get rid of without adding a lot of bass trapping. So you have this little 4x4, or if you're really unlucky, 2.5 by 3.5 foot booth, and you have to add more stuff inside. So you're actually making it even smaller to make it sound good enough to record voiceover, and it's kind of a bummer.
Start hanging your clothes in there, probably.
Yeah, I mean, if you do have to get one that's larger than the largest one you can justify and fit into your space, because you're going to end up adding bass traps, 4-inch thick panels and things in there to get that boominess out of the booth. So that's a good question, because that is one of their biggest problems.
And cost-wise, what's the lowest cost for a room? Is it about $3,000?
Well, if you're buying one direct
Brand
from them, yeah, it might be a little over $3,000 plus freight, and I'm sure freight into Canada especially would kick up a notch. But freight around the U.S. is, well, to have them shipped to the L.A. area, at least they're $500 to $700 freight. So, because they're so huge. I mean, it's like moving. I don't even. It's hard to describe it. It's like moving a piano.
Yeah.
I mean, it weighs anywhere from 600 pounds to 1,500 plus pounds, depending on which configuration.
Didn't that guy from Tokyo win that WhisperRoom at Voice 2010?
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I wonder if he
Yeah.
sold it before he went back home.
I don't know.
That was Voice 2010. They've been sponsored by vocalbooth.com. Maybe it was a vocalbooth.com booth. But yeah, it's the same. Doesn't matter who makes it. It's the same problem. Same
The shipping on that
logistical
must
problem.
be killer.
I would immediately, if I was in Japan and if I won something like that, I would immediately sell it. I mean, there's absolutely no reason you could ever imagine wanting to ship something like that. There actually is a booth manufacturer in Canada too, that builds a prefab booth. Sorry, I can't remember the name of the company right now, but I did find it goofing around on the internet.
No problem. I've kind of gone that route, George. I'm not going to go backwards.
Yeah.
You remember that
Yes.
box I created?
Yeah. Hey, who joined the Hangout? Who is that there?
George
That guy looks
Wyndham.
familiar.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Do I have a mustache?
No, your mustache isn't on right now.
You need to get one.
Click
Neither of
the
them.
mustache button.
Hey, this is George Senior, everybody.
That's my dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hey,
He's the guy.
Trumpet guy.
He's
How are
trumpet
you?
guy.
Good. Also known as Trumpet Guy 99 on the
99.
chat.
We
That's
know
right.
you well.
Oh, good.
Now, what's funny is my dad had a mustache for many, many years. And so it'd be really funny to see the mustache on your face, Dad. Can you turn
Come
it
on,
on?
Dad.
Come on, Mr. Whittam.
Oh, George, please. Hey,
No.
I wanted to tell you something.
Okay, Mr. Whittam.
I wanted to mention something that might be helpful to you guys out there. As you know, George, I worked for a music store for many years.
Yeah.
And they sell pianos.
Yep.
And these pianos come in these super thick pads
Oh,
that you throw away afterward.
really?
I'm talking about a grand piano. I'm not talking about some cheap piece of crap. I'm talking
Yeah.
about, these $20,000 pianos.
Yeah.
But they wrap them in these unbelievable, I would say without exaggeration, they're 5 inches, 6 inches thick.
No kidding.
And it wouldn't be a bad idea to check with the local piano stores around because they just throw them away.
Really? Wow.
Every piano comes wrapped in this, and it's not a blanket. It's not a furniture blanket.
Yeah.
It's like a quilt.
Do you
Almost.
think it's full of just a loose cotton batting or like an insulation? What do you think's inside there?
It's full of something. I don't know what it is.
It's something.
I think I'm full of something.
Marshmallows?
Yeah, marshmallows.
No.
Is that Mrs. Whittam in the back there?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Let's
is.
get the whole family
Come on, Mom.
here.
Walk in there.
Hi, Mom.
Oh my God, my hair.
Oh, you look great.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
It's Mom.
I'm
Hi, Mom.
great. I'm great. We
Merry
love
Christmas.
watching EWABS. Merry Christmas to you all.
Yeah, it's really fun to do this, and I'm glad you guys jumped in on our Google Hangout tonight. It's actually working really well. I'm pretty impressed how everybody's picture looks and everybody sounds good. I can say just from a technical note that if you're not talking for long periods of time, hit the mute your mic. There's a button for muting the mic. And click that when you're not speaking it for extended periods of time, and it'll clean up the sound a little bit, because I'm hearing sort of a mixture of all the different mics, and it starts to get a little bit nasty sounding. Not bad, but I hear a lot of
It's my twins. They just started vacuuming upstairs.
oh, I don't think it's that. I think I hear it's just static and just general noise. You can also mute your video. So if you want to be off camera for a minute but not leave the Hangout, you just click mute the video, and your shot just goes black. So pretty slick.
How many people are actually logged in right now?
Well, we actually have 13 viewers. So, we didn't promote the show, and a lot of people didn't know we were going to have a show tonight because we had announced that we weren't going to be on at the end of the last show. But I was like, yeah, you know what? I want to try something. I've got a captive audience here, so why not make something out of it and give the Google Hangouts a try? Because I've tried this one. The only time I've been successful using it is with my own family. And everybody else, it's very difficult to schedule something and get people to hang out. And
Look at mom making face and fingers behind your dad, George.
Your parents have to loosen up, George. They're way too stiff.
I know they're.
I do want to put some detail, not to interrupt George or anything.
Oh yeah, sure, Dad. Don't interrupt me.
Can't step on his
I'm only the host.
This is his show.
All I got to do is pull a lever, and now I can't hear any of you guys. I have control. Oh, go ahead.
I'm not really this fat. My face is compressed.
Right.
And you know how television adds 10 pounds. So.
Disclaimer.
In your case, 10 kilograms, because we've got some Canadian viewers here. Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, by the way, I checked yesterday. I checked out your Tascam DA88.
Anybody know what that is? Anybody know
what? It's a
what
medical test, isn't it?
Yeah.
It came back positive, George.
It does work?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That thing, I was just telling him how I sold some cables that I've had for 15 years. And one of those cables I just sold on Craigslist. Oh, there's the dog. Those cables I sold on Craigslist. Charlie. Uh-oh, their picture froze. Oh yeah, never a dull moment. Anyway, those cables I sold, I actually used with this machine called a D88. It's the original, not the original, but it's one of the early digital tape recorders that uses a videotape. It uses a tape that looks exactly. I don't have one here, but it's like just like those 8mm videotapes that you had for your Handycam 12 years ago. That machine uses those tapes anyway. I have a huge crate of them. I used them all through college, and then after college, I used them in my recording truck. I used to have an RV that was a recording truck back in the late 90s. And anyway, I won't let my parents get rid of the machine. I wish I still had my RV. I was just lamenting missing my RV.
I bet.
I told my wife, I want to drive it down to the beach and park it along the beach with all the other drug addicts and homeless people and hang out and work by the beach.
Exactly.
But my dad.
Can I ask a voiceover question?
No.
No.
Oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to be talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Please.
This is your show, not mine.
No, go ahead.
No, I had a friend who's new to the business, but she wanted to get home studio set up, and the question was, should I buy a Mac? Should I buy a PC? And I had a few answers for her, but I want to get your perspective. What criteria should somebody consider when working from home and starting from square one? Should they consider Mac or PC to keep things really simple and streamlined?
Well, that is a very good question. I have to put on my serious mustache for this answer. It is probably one of the most banned questions on any forum. Because it ignites all these flame wars and all this stuff, and people get really people get really impassioned about their preference. There's a couple parts to it. One is budget. If you really are on a tight budget, you don't have any computer that's worth usable for voiceover recording right now. A PC is a no-brainer. I mean, they're so inexpensive. You can get I just bought a client a laptop, a ThinkPad made by Lenovo. It used to be made by IBM. They're considered one of the best made laptops out there. They're really, really well made. They're just beefy and just quality construction. And I got one that even had a Core 2 Duo processor, which is basically only one generation old. Most of us are probably actually using computers with Core 2 Duo processors. If you have a MacBook Pro that's at least 2 years old, or an iMac, you probably have it. But anyway, I got this laptop for $200 on eBay, and it's flawless and it runs perfectly. And I mean, you can find deals out there that are amazing if you really want to save some money. The PC is the way to go. And really, as long as that PC is clean and well maintained and doesn't have a lot of garbage on it, no viruses, and you use it very carefully. You don't let your teenage kids use it. Don't install any junk on them. It'll run perfectly fine it'll be current and work just fine for several years. I mean, I've been recording on PC laptops since, I had my RV, even before that, 1997, 98. And they've been capable of recording stereo audio and multi-track audio for a long time now. It's just a matter of how you maintain it and keep it cleaned off. But that's my, now I'll say the but. If you do have the budget and you really are serious about this and you really want to have a computer and you're not a geek and you really don't want to mess around with technical support, running all this applications and spyware, anti-spyware, and have to do a lot of maintenance on your machine. You just want a machine that's more like a utility or like an appliance that's just going to work.
That's reliable and efficient.
It's reliable and pretty efficient and generally pretty darn quiet. Then that's when I say go to a Mac. There's a lot of hardcore engineers out there using Windows computers, but they really are serious engineers that really know how to make the machine squeeze every last drop of power out of their machine. And so, that's to me a good use case for using a Windows computer because you can get a lot more out of it, horsepower wise. But otherwise, I really do recommend going with a Mac. I made the switch about 6 years ago, and it took me about 6 months to a year to really fully commit. But once I did, I was really glad. I do a lot less of having to deal with just general maintenance. Macs still need maintenance, but I have a lot less of that I have to do now because of that. So, that's what it means. That's what I think is the best way to go if you really are serious about what you're doing and you don't want to have to deal with the nightmare of Windows IT support. So,
Someone's typing like crazy and taking the control.
Yeah, someone's got some loud keyboard. Does it sound like this? Actually, I'm using the microphone that filters out the keyboard.
It sounds like a PC, not a Mac.
Right.
Hey, you can try different mustaches. Try a different mustache.
How do you switch?
Macs certainly are pretty quieter when it comes to the fan.
Yeah, no, Macs are very cool. Oh, there's a new mustache. I like that one. Is it random?
Yeah, just
I'm
turn
just
it
gonna
off.
shave mine off here.
Okay, I'll try a new one here. Ah, yes, that's the evil mustache. Yes. The John Waters kind of almost.
We got to get you into voiceover, George. Jeez, you're good behind the mic.
It's someday. What'd you say?
Mine is.
Oh, look at that mustache. That's an awesome mustache. Awesome mustache.
Anyway, the battery on my PC went totally dead. I had to plug in, on my laptop here.
Yeah.
The last thing I heard was you sold the cable that you need for the DA88.
Yeah, no, I had the audio cables that I used with that machine still in a box of cables. And I sold two 15-footers and a 10-foot cable for $80, which is a great deal for the guy who bought it because one of those cables was like $80. But it's also a great deal for me because they were just sitting there. That's $80. It's like finding $80 in your cushions of your sofa. It's awesome. I'm always getting rid of stuff like that. And it blows my mind. And the more stuff I get rid of, it's like a purge. You purge some stuff. A few months goes by and you're like, yeah, I don't have anything left. A few months go by and you're like, oh my gosh, I have all this other stuff that I could get rid of. And you start purging more stuff. And my wife and I have done this like probably 5 or 6 times since we've been together in the last 5 years. And it just always blows our mind how much stuff we accumulate. I mean, it's a really bad habit for me because I'm a geek. I'm a technical person. I fix people's studios. So I always have a lot of stuff around anyway. So I always keep things because I'm going to like, well, somebody could use this, or especially cables. I have a really hard time getting rid of cables because chances are I'll need it on some project. But generally, I love to offload the junk when I don't need it. I love to offload stuff. So let me take this moment to thank a sponsor, because we have one really awesome sponsor that really actually sent us money for real, and that's Harlan Hogan. And he actually sent us money to help take the advertising from Ustream off of the Ustream feed. So if most of you that watch the show on Ustream don't have to watch one of those loud commercials that you can't either pause or mute, you know what I'm talking about. It's the world's most annoying commercial. Not that the commercial itself is bad, but the fact that they don't let you control it and turn it off is really annoying. So anyway, Harlan gave us some dough to help get rid of those commercials. So we want to thank him and just mention that his website, voiceoveressentials.com, is a really good place to go and find any piece of gear for voiceover recording. It really is a one-stop shop. I know he's definitely honed down the website. He has a lot less stuff on there than he used to, which I think is a really good sign. He's not trying to be a general store for anything and everything audio, but he is trying to be a general store for everything voiceover recording. And he's done that pretty well, I think, by really selecting just the right products and it looks like he's picking things that I've either tried myself as well, or I can personally recommend from trying in somebody's home studio. Like the JK inline patch. That is a real good, and he's got the JK audio auto hybrid as well. And I find that both of these work really well for doing foam patches in your studio. They're very cost effective. And if you want a real foam patch, you can plug into a phone line in the wall. Both of these boxes will do it for you and do it really well. So he's carrying, really specific items like that if you're getting it from his store, chances are it's probably going to do a good job, for you. So he's really got it focused down. He's even got one of these. He's got that's like the big hardcore recording light that you'd see at like a radio station or a TV station. This is like a serious heavy duty piece that plugs into AC power. So you would need some sort of a switch for that. But he's also got I'll see if I can find it and I'll get back to the show here in a second. He's also got that really cool sign. Let's see if I can find home studio hardware. Yeah, he's got that sign. Oh, and he's got it now bundled with a remote control power switch, which is awesome. The voiceover recording sign with remote power switch. I have this on my wish list. I'm hoping that it shows up under the tree this year or in the mail. So this thing is really cool. Very, very cool design, and you can kick it on from your desk with a little remote control, and a nice way of telling your whole house to shut up. So anyway, it's Harlan Hogan. That's voiceoveressentials.com. Thank you, Harlan. We really appreciate what you've done to support the voiceover industry and support East West Audio Body Shop. So let me get back to the discussions at hand. What's going on in the chat room? Everybody's sufficiently bored now.
I'm not getting you on full screen. I'm only getting my scary face with my mustache. So I don't know how to get you back on full screen.
So another little tip is, it automatically does switch cameras, but if it doesn't switch to a camera you want to see, you can click on that person's face and their camera will go full screen. So I can actually choose whomever I want to have on my screen, but it's independent. So you guys can choose whoever you want to look at on the big screen. So if someone's microphone keeps making noise and they keep getting thrown up on the screen, you can just click on the camera you actually want to see. So
I'm only seeing me.
Oh, sorry. I see you. Sorry about that.
My video froze.
Oh, man.
I know.
Mine's still working, and
I want to get George up there.
that's still working.
If I get out, can come back in?
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, it's and then there were
She must be
4.
on a PC, George.
Yeah, no,
That's terrible.
we-
I shouldn't talk that way.
we get slammed for. I know it's one of the. Dan and I disagree on some things, but that's one thing that we've pretty much been a unified front on, is being kind of.
I've been on a
pro-Mac.
Mac for 5 years. And I'm so happy with it, and it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, it's not. We're not doing it to be to sell product for Apple. They don't need it. They don't need our help.
No.
It's really just.
I don't need any more headaches.
It's really just our personal experience, and for me, it has been overall quite positive. They're not flawless. I've had 1 or 2 iMacs have failures where they've needed expensive repairs. They're certainly not flawless, but in general, they're a lot more trouble-free, I think. Dad, would you think of ever going to a Mac?
No.
Why not?
Well, number one is I've got some software on PC base that you can't even buy anymore
Right.
that I really like. It's I do transcriptions from 8-track, 78 records, 33 records, 45 CD to a digital format.
Right.
And I use a program called CleanLab to do that.
Right.
Why do I have to go out and buy all new software? When it works fine, and I don't play games.
Right.
This right now, what we're doing right now is probably the absolute maximum amount of RAM that I ever be using in any condition.
Yeah, video chat is the most intensive thing that anybody is probably going to do with their computer, unless they do a lot of video editing or video gaming. But you can. There are, of course, there's always tricks to this. And when I did go to the Mac, I had the exact same apprehension. I was like, well, I use WaveLab, which was only PC, happens to actually now be on Mac too. But there were quite a few things that I was really concerned about having to leave behind, and I found that I was able to get by for at least a year quite happily using something called Boot Camp. And there's one thing called Boot Camp, and there's another technique called Virtual Machine. Boot Camp basically lets you choose which operating system you want to run on your Mac. So you hold down the Option key when you turn on the computer, and a little screen comes up saying, what do you want to do, Mac or Windows? Click Windows, and from that point on, you are on a Windows computer. There's zero hint of being on a Mac. I'm sorry.
So what's the point then?
Right. So, I mean, the point is that if you want to run Mac hardware but still run Windows applications, you can do that. But there's a better way to do it, in my opinion, and that's using what's called a virtual machine. And what virtual machine does is you can run Windows from within the Mac operating system. So you can be running the Mac OS and doing everything the benefits of using the Mac OS. But if you have to run that one of those Windows only applications, and if you use Quicken, that's definitely one of those apps that still to this day is pretty lousy on Mac and QuickBooks. That's one of the main reasons I think to use a virtual machine. But you run this program, and then all of a sudden, boom, your application is loaded and running in Windows inside the Mac operating system. So you can even have dual monitors, which I do on this machine. So I could have my left monitor running Mac OS, my right monitor running Windows. And it's only limited by how much RAM you have or memory in the computer. Of course, if you're running 2 operating systems, you would have probably twice as much memory to do it. But it actually, to me, works really well. And what I've found is that eventually you find software to replace all of those things that you thought you could never live without on the Windows computer. Either you replace it or you wait long enough and then somebody actually releases it for the Mac. And that's been happening more and more. Like Adobe Audition, that was a long time holdout on Windows until this last summer, I think. Sometime in the summer, I think it was, or the spring. They just all of a sudden released Adobe Audition on the Mac. Steinberg WaveLab, which was my favorite audio editor of all time, it just in the last year came out on Mac. So I think that just is a sign of the times. It's showing that the Mac user base is growing. More and more people are adopting to these computers. So the other thing is like,
how's the virus situation on Mac?
There are still almost no viruses. When there is a virus, the whole Mac community hears about it immediately. And a patch or some kind of way to eliminate it usually shows up really, really quickly, or at least within a week or two. And there's competitions all the time for hackers to see which operating system they can hack the fastest. And usually Mac it takes them longer to hack than Windows. So it seems to be a little more secure. The Mac OS is running on what's called a Unix kernel. So the behind the scenes part of Mac that you don't see is Unix based, which is the kind of operating system that is running on major servers and major networks, and so it's kind of wired from the guts outward, is wired for high security, and it just seems to be pretty immune. I think once the Mac user base grows to a certain degree, I think it's just barely reached 10%. And if it grows internationally to maybe 15, 20%, the hackers might start taking more notice and saying, oh, it might be actually worth hacking into these things now. But think about it. If you're a hacker, are you going to hack into some random guy with a Mac who's, playing Angry Birds and recording records? Or are you going to hack into the most influential computers on the network, on the internet, doing, banking and, that kind of thing? Well, those computers are all Windows. So I think it's going to be a long time before Macs have even a tiny fraction of the problems with malware and viruses and all that stuff that Windows does. So that's just been my experience. I have not, in 6 years I've had a Mac, I have not run a Mac. I've not run a virus scanner. Never had to. So that, to me alone, just makes your computer feel even faster. Because you don't have to have all this extra junk running in the background to make up for the fact that you have to deal with having to deal with all these attacks and stuff like that. So I don't know. Is that did I swing you, Dad?
Some of it was convincing, yes.
Anyway,
but it's also a matter of economics,
Well, yeah, I do recommend if you're thinking about it, buy a used one. There are a ton of used Macs. Some of them even still come with a warranty. There's third-party companies that refurbish them and then give you 90 days or even sometimes a year warranty on them. And you can find amazingly good deals. I do like their laptops, and I like their Mac Mini. Little tiny computer that's like this thick, maybe depending on which one you get, that thick or that thick. And it's like the size of, I don't know, it's smaller. It's smaller than this whiteboard. It's like 2/3 the size of this whiteboard. And it is amazingly capable. And they can be used now for $300 to $500. And I think they're a good value, and I think they really maintain their value as well. They're not, but when you buy a used Mac, you can probably turn it around and sell it in a year to 2 years from now. And sell it for, maybe 20 to 30% less than what you paid for it. And if you had a Windows computer, if you sell it in 2 to 3 years, chances are it might be worth half to maybe a quarter of what you paid for it. So, they really, as you can tell, I'm pretty sold. But I will convince you one of these days.
So what is the story on the Sennheiser M416? Is that really a mic for the voiceover, or is it just a fad, or what? Why is I hear so much about that?
It's not a fad. It has been, especially in Los Angeles, the number one voiceover mic for, at least for the promo and the commercial and the kind of the advertising part of the world of voiceover.
Movie trailer.
Yeah, movie trailers. It's been the go-to mic. And there's a very good reason for it. There's a very good story for it. Now, what bothers me is I love telling this story, and I can never remember the voiceover artist who it was that started the trend. But you remember the TV show Love Boat? Mm-hmm. The announcer from Love Boat. Anybody know his name? Does that ring a bell to anybody?
Google it.
Yeah, Google it. Ted Lange? No, it's not Ted. Ted was actually on camera. He was an on-camera actor, actually, who happened to actually be a good friend of Dan. Or I'm sorry, Ted actually was a good friend of Don LaFontaine's. I got to play poker with him once, actually. Bernie Koppel, no. All right, who's Googling it? Is anybody Googling it? No. That's a good list of names, but anyway, this voice actor, whose name will be found by one of our minions here in just a minute, he
Ira Lipschitz.
no, he actually was pretty notorious for being what's a nice way to say
Ernie
it?
Anderson.
Yes, Ernie Anderson. He was known for being very sharp-tongued. He really did not. He wasn't the most pleasant guy, and he could really let people have it. And so he made quite a lot of enemies. And this, as the story goes, is that he decided to not work in a booth. Now, at the time, you think Don was, Don was big, but Ernie Anderson was even bigger in his heyday. And he live announced on the air, and in that era of TV in the 70s, even still, when you heard a promo for a show, the talent was live, like literally on the air at that moment. They were sitting in the booth or sitting in the studio waiting to talk. And when they got their cue, they had to read the line. It's just like they were on live radio. And so, as the story goes, he didn't like to be in the booth because everybody outside the booth could talk crap about him. So he wanted to be in the booth, right there where the action was, in the engineering room next to, not in the booth, but in the studio, in the control room, right next to the engineer. And he insisted on it. So they tried to find a mic that would work for that. And they found the 415, the predecessor to the 416, worked. They found that was the mic that worked the best. It kept the most background noise out and had the best sound for a talent sitting next to the engineering console, and where there's a lot more background noise. So, anywho, that's pretty much the story of how it became the go-to mic. Because once Ernie started using it, other people started catching on, going, "What's that mic that Ernie Anderson uses? I want to sound like him." And they started using that mic. Don eventually probably got one in front of him in the studios. And, the rest was history. It just took off and just became an industry standard. It's not the best mic for everybody, but it sounds really good for that kind of more high, hard sell type of a read where you really need to have a lot, aggressive sound that needs to cut through the mix. And that mic does that really well. I don't think it's a good mic for narration, long form narration, book reading, that kind of thing, because I think it's just not a very natural, smooth sounding mic. But yeah, Susan said in the chat on the chat in Google Hangouts that Don sounded good on anything. Yeah, he did sound pretty much good on anything. They could put almost any mic in front of Don and he sounded good on it. I mean, they used to swap mics as people would send him new mics to play with, and never did anybody complain or say a word. Like, did you get a new mic? Oh, it sounds good. It didn't matter. And they would always tell him he sounded good. So that's my story in the 416, and I'm sticking to it. But that probably also explains why if you go to New York, you don't see it nearly as often. Because New York wasn't Hollywood. It's a different world. And they were much more into the traditional studio mics there. Susan's,
it's an interesting story.
Yeah, Susan, I wanted to answer. Susan's asked a couple questions in the chat room. I do want to make sure I catch some of her good questions. Why was Steinberg your favorite? Oh, Wavelab. Well, at the time, you pretty much had on a PC. You had a few options to choose from. You had Cool Edit. You had what else did you have? Cool Edit. You had Sound Forge, which was made by a company called Sonic Foundry at the time. And then you had Steinberg Wavelab. And of course, I think Pro Tools wasn't out on PC. And there were other programs like Cakewalk, but none of them just seemed to lend themselves to editing very well. They were all for music production, doing multi-track recording, MIDI, all that kind of stuff. But when it came down to like making a CD, which we all used to do, it's a long time ago, we actually would burn CDs and make CDs and sell them. Steinberg, the WaveLab program, let you edit a CD and put together a CD very, very easily, and do it in a very professional, with really professional sounding results. It also has cool features, like it allows you to, it has like a virtual effects rack. Now, Adobe Audition has this now, so it's pretty similar. But they, for a very, very long time before anybody else, had an effects rack where you could plug in the effects that you want to use on your audio and move them around in the rack, change the order, play with the settings, everything. But it was all real time. So when you clicked play, you were hearing all those effects on the audio file the second you hit play. And if you wanted to then apply the effects that you had set up and you were happy with the sound, you just clicked a button and it would render out a new WAV file or an MP3 with all the effects on it. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Nobody else really had a workflow like that. Pro Tools, you have to like bounce to apply all the effects. It was just not efficient. So, and also, you know, I was using a Windows ThinkPad. I think it was a Pentium 90, something like very, very low power, and I could still run WaveLab without any problems and do live recording right to my laptop computer. And so I liked it for that reason too. So and I'm thinking about buying it again. You can buy the cheap version. I think it's called Essentials, WaveLab Essentials, something like that, for or Elements, Elements or Essentials, and you can buy it for $100. And the stripped down Essentials version is not stripped down that much at all. Actually, it has most of the features, actually all the features that you would ever need for voiceover. Just the $500 full-blown version has, I think, multi-track editing and a lot more complexity that you'd never need. So I'm considering grabbing that software in the next few months, getting it up and running again, and maybe doing some new tutorials on it, because I still, of all the things that I do on the Mac, I still will load Windows in a virtual machine and load up WaveLab and edit recordings from time to time. I just love it that much. That the promo I have on my website, where you hear all these voiceover actors saying their names and talking, you know, giving a testimonial, I edited that together on WaveLab. And when I want to go back and add more material, I still have to load up WaveLab, because it's the software, the program is using a proprietary file, like a Pro Tools file, that you have to load with that program. So I'll still go in there, load up Windows, and play around on WaveLab for editing.
George, what would be some of the key differences between WaveLab and Twisted Wave then? Are there many?
Well, WaveLab has had many, many, many years of development. It's a lot more, let's just say, geeky. It has a lot of different tweakable tools and effects that are very tweakable. It has some pretty complex metering for showing things like phase and stereo and all sorts of different like spectral analyzing meters. It's got a lot of like tweaky, geeky stuff. The ability though to hear your effects in real time is in Twisted Wave now. So I haven't had that motivation to go out and spend the $100 on it, because I've been so happy with Twisted Wave. Where it is cool though is it gives you this multi-track editing mode, like called montage editing. And like I said, it's not a multi-track recorder. It doesn't let you record a bunch of tracks at the same time. But you can assemble a whole bunch of clips and create a new file from all these different clips of audio. You can drag music in there. You can do all sorts of stuff in the montage edit mode. And so it feels like a multi-track editor where you can do all this extra stuff. But the cool thing is that montage mode, it's sort of like a program inside a program. It doesn't get in the way. So unless you want to use it, it's totally invisible to you. If you never ever start an audio montage, what they call a montage project, you'll never know it's there. So it's not like that feature gets in your way and gets frustrating because of that. So, But once you learn how to use the montage, which has its own set of tools and menus, and it's, like I said, a program, it's like a whole new level of complexity. And actually it's pretty cool. If you had to do a lot of production, if you're finding yourself having to make a fully produced audio spot with music and effects, that's where you might want to look into it. But for the rest of us, hopefully Twisted Wave is probably all you're going to need for a long time. So
nice.
Let's see. It's coming up on 7:00. I don't want to jump off just yet. If there's anything you guys have on your minds that you want to talk about, if you have had any questions, what are you thinking?
Let's all do a terrible
George, I wanted
bad
to.
audio.
I had a question for George. What was it, yesterday?
Let's all do a terrible.
Yeah, really.
Sorry, Diane.
Can you
Turn
hear
down
me
your
okay?
playback, yeah. I think somebody's Ustream video is playing in the background, which is on a delay, and then it gets picked up by your make. And who is it? Is it you, Pat?
No, not me.
No?
No.
Maybe it's you, Dad. Is it you, Dad? Are you watching the Ustream feed?
No,
Somebody
No.
fess up.
not me.
All right.
It's you.
Well, whoever's not talking, just mute your microphone. It's not me. I know it's not me. Can't be. Oh, who was that? Who just muted their mic? Oh, it was Diane. Weird. Okay. I'm sorry. What was your question?
She has a question. Let her answer the question.
What was your question, Diane?
Okay. I wanted to mention what we had discussed the other day about the Kindle Fire and the iPad.
Yes. That is like the number one comparison right now between tablet computers is the Fire and the Kindle Fire and the iPad. The Kindle Fire is amazing achievement for $200. I don't know if you heard, but they're actually selling it at a loss. So technically, some company took this thing, broke it down into its pieces, and based on past breakdowns and research, they figured out that it's made out of over $200 worth of parts. So before they even factor in the manufacturing, costs, it's just made out of $200 worth of bits, which is kind of hard to believe, but it's true. So that thing is probably really worth as much as an iPad. The thing about the Kindle, though, and the reason why it's not good for what we do, at least for the needs of voiceover recording, is it has no way of attaching any other peripherals to it, like a USB adapter or a camera or a microphone or some other device. It's not able to do that. And to me, that's the major barrier to using the Kindle instead of the iPad, the fact that you can't do that. But it will do a lot of other things. It'll play video. You can look at documents and files. Of course, it reads any Kindle book, but I think it reads any PDF document. So it is capable of doing a lot of things that an iPad can do. But it can't do a few crucial things like record audio. It doesn't have a camera, so you can't use it for video chat either. So, you have to think about what do you want to use this thing for. If you just want a content consumption device, something you can hold and watch video and just, sit on the sofa, watching your favorite TV show, Facebooking about it, IMDb searching people's names, that kind of thing. It's perfect for that. It does a great job on that. It's basically just an Android tablet computer where they've kind of hidden the Android part of it kind of behind the scenes and branded everything Amazon. But it actually, you can buy apps for it from the Amazon store. My phone is an Android phone, and there's an Android marketplace where most of your apps come from, which is kind of like the iTunes store. But I can also load up an application on here and actually open the Amazon App Store and access the Amazon apps. So the Kindle is kind of limited because it only can access the Amazon store, the Amazon store for apps. And it can't access the main Google marketplace for all the Android apps, which limits you. Instead of having thousands of apps, instead of having hundreds of thousands of apps to choose from, you maybe only have thousands of apps to choose from. But it's a very tempting device. It looks very cool. It's just not. It's not going to be a good substitute for the iPad for the reasons that many voice actors would want an iPad. If you just want to put it on your copy stand and read copy, knock yourself out. I think for $200, that's really hard to beat. It'll do that just fine. So, I hope my answered that thoroughly enough. So, any other queries, questions, well wishes? We're definitely going to have Dave on next week. Dave Cavassier. He's like one of our biggest cheerleaders, and he's just a great all around guy. We had a lot of requests to have him on, so he's going to be our final guest of the year. We might be able to get John on too, who was obviously another obvious choice because John Taylor he's hilarious. I mean, he's like our favorite guest of all time. He's so entertaining and he's just a lot of fun. I just want to give him some time to settle in his new place, and I didn't want to overextend him because I don't know if being on our show conflicts with being on his radio show. I think he's got to be up at pre-dawn hours because I think it's a morning show. So I didn't want to pressure him into it, but maybe we'll have John on as well for at least some of the show. I'll see if he can do it.
Super. That'd be great.
But that is the plan for next week is to have
more female talents.
You're right. You're right. We do need we need more female talent and female guests in general. We've had very, very few female guests. So
did you have DB? Have you had DB Cooper on yet?
We did. We had DB on, and that was when she was still here in LA. She actually came into the studio and sat right here, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, we definitely need more ladies on. So if you guys have suggestions for people you'd like to be on, Stephanie Reggio, she's on our list. She's definitely on our list. I have a long growing list of talent who we want to start approaching for 2012. And she would be excellent. She's very well outspoken and knowledgeable, and she's cool because she's like your ultimate. She is like a real hardcore do-it-yourselfer kind of girl, very self-sufficient. So she has a lot of interesting, maybe even to a fault. I think, Stephanie, you're sometimes too self-sufficient. Ask for help once in a while. No, she's great. She really is. She's talented, and I think she would be good on.
Merrit.
Yeah, Diane Merrit. Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, next time I'm in Buffalo, I'll definitely be there.
Well, you guessed it on the show when you were in Dan's studio.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was fun.
You don't have to be in Buffalo to be on the show, Diane.
No, of course not.
Come on, we got Google Plus now.
I know.
Yeah,
you are
you're
on the
right.
show. You guys are on the show. I'm actually going to credit, because we only had 5 or 6 people on the
George, I have
show.
a request.
Hang on, Mom. We only had 5 people on the show tonight. So we only had 5 people on the
She's
show.
asking you what you want for Christmas, George.
Oh,
Come
I
on.
know. It's nothing important, right? We only had 5 people on the show, so I'm gonna credit you guys as my guests tonight. So
Yay.
you guys are all of my guests tonight. I'm sorry, Mom. What were you gonna say?
My request is of a slightly familiar nature. Would you please Skype with Ella so I can see our grandchild?
Hey, is Ella there? You got Ella there?
Bring your wife on.
Come here, Ella.
Yeah.
Ella needs a stash.
Amy.
Here she comes.
Bella, Bella.
Come on, Ella. I got her mic right here.
Hi. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Ella.
Hi.
Here, let me turn up the speakers a little bit, just a little bit.
Hi, Ella.
All right, now I got to get a camera on Ella here. Hang on.
We have the planet. We're making onions.
We're making soup. She's so
We're
beautiful.
making soup.
Hi, Ella.
We're making soup.
You're making soup?
She helped make soup, and she did a really good job.
Look, Ella's got a mustache.
Oh no! How did I get a mustache, George?
I'll turn up the mustache. Ella, can you hear everybody?
Hi.
Hi, Ella.
Hi, Ella.
Here, let's put the mic up higher.
Hi, sweetheart. Come on.
Ella, are you going to do voiceover someday for a living?
No.
Doing a
Well,
little
luckily,
mining on that.
a lot of people do voiceover, Ella, because they're able to pick their nose while they work. Did you know that?
She's picking it for scale, too.
Hi, this is Graham. Hi. Hi, honey.
Only on East West Audio Body Shop.
Let's get our families on.
We should have a family
My
show.
daughter, Jill. Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi, Jill.
hi, Jill.
Hey.
Nice mustache.
Nice mustache, really.
Where's the other twin?
It really brings out your eyes or something.
I
Nice to meet you.
I can't see you.
You can't see me? Oh, you can't see me. You're saying
She
you can't
loves the
see
camera.
me. There you go.
Beautiful, George.
You're doing good, Ella.
Kisses and hugs.
Well, Graham will do a private Skype session very soon. I know we made it through a whole weekend without doing Skype with you guys. Sorry about that. We'll make it up to you. You know what? Here's what we'll do to make it up for you. We're going to fly out there and see you guys in 10 days. How's that sound?
Hey, that's a good deal.
Does Ella know that?
I can't wait.
Do you guys know where? No, we
You look excited, George.
Keep that kid in California.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
They're high maintenance guests, are they?
we have a basement lounge at the house, a basement bedroom that we can take over.
I can't see it. I can't see the.
Okay, Ella,
I can't see it.
we're gonna say
Well, let's
goodbye
sing us
now.
a song. Do you know any songs you can sing us? No?
No.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Mary.
No.
Let's do ABCs.
Yes.
A,
B,
B.
C, D, E, F, G. I can't see it. I can't see it.
All right, I'll turn your camera on. I know, you got to see yourself. Okay, go.
See yourself.
C, D, E, F, D, H, I, J, K, L, N, O, P, E, S, G, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And I know my RBCs.
Yay!
Did you notice
Good job.
Did
Way
you
to
notice
go.
I taught her to say ERS instead of QRS? That was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
C, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, N, O, P, Q, R, S, G, U, V.
Thank you, Ella.
She's saying TRS as in tip ring sleeve.
Right, TRS as in tip ring sleeve. My future audio geek, Ella Whittam. Thanks, Ella. You show him your crazy eyes. Okay.
No.
Say Merry
Forget
Christmas.
voiceover. She's going to be on
Merry
camera.
Christmas.
Say Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Say Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa.
And say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay. Bye.
No.
I love you.
Good night.
Bye, Ella.
No.
I'm gonna wrap up the show here now.
Bye, Ella. Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Ella.
No.
Yes. I gotta let you go
Santa's
now.
coming soon.
Oh, she feels.
Oh.
Ooh, did you hear Santa? Wow, pretty good. All right, guys, thanks for indulging us there. That was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Good night,
thank you.
everybody. See you in EWABS again.
Well, that was episode 31 of East West Audio Body Shop. We got one more live show before the end of the year, and we'll have Dave Cavassier on, so don't miss that one. And hopefully we'll get John Taylor to make a surprise appearance. You know, it'd be a surprise. That's why I'm telling you guys. And so thanks for watching. Happy holidays. Don't go too crazy. And don't get swept up in all the material aspects of Christmas, and just enjoy the good stuff, the family, the good food, and all that. And we will see you next week. So this is George Whittam in the West, and I am East West Audio Body Shop. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas, everybody.